Hello, 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 hello. It is day 64 of reading the Bible in a year, and my neck still hurts from yesterday. It's leaning over a desk too much and then lifting up my chin rather than lifting up my head. Yay. Desk neck. Or is it office neck? I don't know. Anyway, ow. I've got 4 more chapters of Joshua to read. And it starts off really nicely with... Alright, let's get started. The second generation. So it was when all the kings of the Amorites who were on the west side of the Jordan and all the kings of the Canaanites who were by the sea heard that the Lord dried up the waters of the Jordan from before the children of Israel until we, that is Joshua and everyone else, had crossed over, that their heart melted, and that there was no spirit in them any longer because of the children of Israel. At that time the Lord said to Joshua, "Make flint knives for yourselves, and your sons of Israel again the second time." Only the second time? But haven't they been doing that for hundreds of years? So Joshua made flint knives for himself and the sons of Israel at the hill of... And this is the reason why Joshua them... all the people who came out of Egypt who were males, all of the men of war had died in the wilderness on the way after they had come out of Egypt. For all the people who came out had been... But all the people born in the wilderness on the way as they came out of Egypt had not been... Oh. For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness till all the people who were men of war who came out of Egypt were consumed, because they did not obey the voice of the Lord, to whom the Lord swore that he would not show them the land which the Lord had sworn to their fathers, that he would give us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Then Joshua, the sons of whom he raised up in their place, for they were because they had not been on the way. So it was, when they had finished all the people, that they stayed in their places in the camp till they were healed. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "The day I have rolled away from reproach of Egypt from you, therefore the name of this place is called Gilgal to this day." Now the children of Israel camped in Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at twilight on the plains of Jericho. And they ate of the produce of the land on the day after the Passover, unleavened bread and parched grain on the same day. Then manna ceased on the day after they had eaten the produce of the land. And the children of Israel no longer had manna, but they ate the food of the land of the Canaan that year. Commander of the army of the Lord. And it came to pass, when Joshua was by Jericho, that he lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, a man stood up opposite him with his sword drawn at his hand. And Joshua went to him and said to him, capital him, "Are you for us, or are our adversaries?" So he said, "No, but as commander of the army of the Lord. Now I have now come." And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped, and said to him, "What does my Lord say to his servant?" Then the commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, "Take up your sandal off your foot, for the place where you stand is holy." And Joshua did so. Destruction of Jericho. Now Jericho was securely shut up because the children of Israel, none went out and none came in. And the Lord said to Joshua, "See, I have given Jericho into your hand, its king and the mighty men of valour. You shall march around the city, all you men of war, and you shall go around the city once. You shall do This you shall do 6 days. The 7 priests shall bear the trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. But the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priest shall blow on the trumpets. It shall come to pass when they make the long blast with the ram's horns, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, that all the people that shall shout with great shout, then the walls of the city will fall down flat, and the people shall go up, and every man and straight before him. And the people shall go up, every man straight before him. Then Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said to them, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord. And he said to the people, Proceed and march around the city, and let him who is armed advance before the ark of the Lord. And so it was, when Joshua had spoken to the people, that 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the Lord advanced and blew trumpets, and the ark of the covenant of the Lord followed them. The armed men went before the priests who blew the trumpets, and the rear guard came after the ark, while the priests continued blowing trumpets. Now Joshua had commanded the people, saying, You shall not shout nor make any noise with your voice, nor shall a word proceed out of your mouth, until the day I say to you, Shout! And then you shall shout. So he had the ark of the Lord circle the city, going around it once for 6 days. Then they lodged in the camp came into the camp and lodged in it. And Joshua arose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord, 7 priests bearing trumpets of ram's horns before the ark, and went continually and blew the trumpets, and the armed men before them. And the rear guard came after the ark of the Lord, and the priests continued blowing the trumpets. And the 2nd day they marched around, and so they did so 6 days. But it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day, and marched around it 7 times. In the same manner, on that 7th day only they marched around it, the city 7 times. On that 7th time it happened, when the priests blew the trumpet, that Joshua said to the people, Shout, for the Lord has given you that city. Now the city will be doomed by the Lord to destruction, it and all who are in it. Only Rahab the harlot which shall live, she and all who are with her in her house, because she hid messengers that we sent. And you, by all means, abstain from the accursed things, lest you become accursed when you take of the accursed things, and make the camp of Israel a curse, and trouble it. But all the silver and gold, the vessels of bronze and iron, are consecrated to the Lord. They shall come into the treasury of the Lord. How are they consecrated if they're for foreign gods? So the people shouted when the priests blew the trumpets, and it happened when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat. Whoopum! Then the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, ox and sheep and donkey, with the edge of the sword. But Joshua had said to the 2 men who had spied out to the country, Go into the harlot's house, and from there bring out the woman and all that she has, as you swore to her. The young men who had been spies went in and brought out Rahab, her father, her mother, brothers, and all that she had. What about his sisters? So they brought out all her relatives and left them outside the camp of Israel. But they burned the city and all that was in it with the fire. Only the silver and gold and the vessels of bronze and iron they put into the treasury of the house of the Lord. And Joshua spared Rahab the harlot, her father's household, and all that she had. So she dwells in Israel to this day, because she hid the messengers from whom Joshua sent out to spy Jericho. Then Joshua charged them at the time, saying, Cursed be the man before the Lord who rises up and builds this city Jericho. he shall lay its foundation with its firstborn, and with his youngest he shall set up its gates. So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame spread throughout the country. Defeat at Ai. That's spelt A-I. But the children of Israel committed trespass regarding the accursed things. For Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took of the accursed things, so the anger of the Lord burned against the children of Israel. Now Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Beth-aven, on the east side of Bethel, and spoke to them, saying, Go up and spy out the country. So the men went up and spied out Ai. And they returned to Joshua and said to him, Do not let all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and attack Ai. Do not weary all the people there, for the people of Ai are few. So about 3,000 men went up there from the people, but they fled before the men of Ai. The men of Ai struck down about 36 men, for they chased them from before the gate as far as Shebarim, and struck them down on the descent. Therefore the hearts of the people melted and became like water. So they were ice before, and now they're water. Then Joshua tore his clothes and fell to the earth on his face before the ark of the Lord until evening, and he and the elders of Israel, and they put dust on their heads. And Joshua said, Alas, Lord God, why have you brought this people all over the Jordan at all, to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites, to destroy us? Oh, that we had been content and dwelt on the other side of the Jordan. O Lord, what shall I say when Israel turns its back before its enemies? For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land will hear it, and surround us, and cut off our name from the earth. Then what will you do for your great name? That sounds like a challenge to the Lord. And you know what they say? The Lord likes a challenge. The sin of Achan. So the Lord said to Joshua, Get up! Why do you lie thus on your face? Israel had sinned, for they have also transgressed my covenant which I commanded them. For they have even taken some of the accursed things, and have both stolen and deceived, and they have also put it among their own stuff. Therefore the children of Israel could not stand before their enemies, but turned their backs before their enemies, because they have become doomed to destruction. Doomed! Neither will I be with you any more, unless you destroy the accursed from among you. Get up and sanctify the people, and say, Sanctify yourselves for tomorrow, because thus says the Lord God of Israel, there is an accursed thing in your midst. O Israel, you cannot stand before your enemies until you take away the accursed thing from among you. In the morning, therefore, you shall be brought according to your tribes, and it shall be that the tribe which the Lord takes shall come according to the families, and the family which the Lord takes shall come by the households, and by the household which the Lord takes shall come man by man. Then it shall be that he who is taken with the accursed thing shall be burned with fire, he and all that he has, because he has transgressed the covenant of the Lord, and because he has done a disgraceful thing in Israel. So Joshua rose early in the morning and brought Israel by their tribes. The tribe of Judah was taken. He brought the clan of Judah, and he took the family of Isrealites, and he brought the family of Isrealites man by man, and Zabdi was taken. I thought it was Achan that did the thing. And then he brought his household man by man. Oh. And Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, son of Zerah, from the tribe of Judah, was taken. Now Joshua said to Achan, My son, I beg you, please, give glory to the Lord of Israel, and make confession to him. And tell me now what you have done, and do not hide it from me. And Achan answered Joshua and said, Indeed, I have sinned against the Lord of God of Israel, and this is what I have done. When I saw among the spoils of beautiful Babylonian garment 200 shekels of silver, a wedge of gold weighing 50 shekels, I coveted them, and I took them. And there they are, hidden in the earth, in the midst of my tent, with the silver under it. So Joshua sent messengers, and they ran to the tent, and there it was, hidden in his tent, with the silver under it. And they took them from the midst of the tent, and brought them to Joshua, and all the children of Israel, and laid them out before the Lord. Then Joshua and all Israel with him took Achan, the son of Zerah, the silver, the garment, and the wedge of gold, his sons and his daughters, his oxen, his donkeys, his sheep, his tent, and all that he had, and they brought them to the valley of Achor. And Joshua said, Why have you troubled us? The Lord will trouble you this day. So all Israel stoned him with stones, and they burned him with fire after they had stoned him with stones. And they raised over him a great heap of stones, still there to this day. So the Lord turned from the fierceness of his anger. Therefore the name of that place is called the Valley of Achor to this day. And now, because they've gotten rid of the problem person, the fall of Ai. Now the Lord said to Joshua, Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed. Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed. Take all the people of war with you, and arise. Go up to Ai. See, I have given into your hand the king of Ai, his people, his city, his land. And you shall do to Ai and its king as you did to Jericho and its king. Only its spoil and its cattle you shall take as booty for yourselves. Lay an ambush for the city behind it. So Joshua arose, and all the people of war to go up against Ai. And Joshua chose 30,000 mighty men of valour, and sent them away by night. And he commanded them, saying, Behold, you shall lie in ambush against the city, behind the city. Do not go very far from the city, but all of you be ready. Then I and all the people who are with me will approach the city, and it will come out. And when they come out against us at the first, that we shall flee before them, for they will come out after us till we have drawn them from the city. For they will say, They are fleeing before us, as at the first. Therefore we will flee before them. Then you shall arise from the ambush and seize the city, for the Lord your God will deliver it into your hand. And it will be, when you have taken the city, that you shall set the city on fire. According to the commandment of the Lord you shall do. See, I have commanded you. Joshua therefore sent them out, and went to lie in ambush, and stayed between Bethel and Ai, on the west side of Ai. But Joshua lodged that night among the people. Then Joshua rose up early in the morning, and mustered the people, and went up, he and the elders of Israel, before the people of Ai. And all the people of war who were with him went up and drew near, and they came before the city and camped on the north side of Ai. Now the valley lay between them and Ai. So he took about 5,000 men and set them in ambush between Bethel and Ai on the west side of the city. And when they had set the people, all the army that was on the north of the city, and its rear guard on the west of the city, Joshua went that night into the midst of the valley. Now it happened, when the king of Ai saw it, that the men of the city hurried and rose early and went out against Israel to battle, he and all his people, and at an appointed place before the plain. But he did not know that there was an ambush against them behind the city. And Joshua and all Israel made as if they were beaten before them, and fled away of the wilderness. So all the people who were in Ai were called together to pursue them. And they pursued Joshua and were drawn away from the city. There was not a man left in Ai or Bethel who did not go out after Israel. So they left the city open and pursued Israel. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Stretch out the spear that is in your hand toward Ai, for I will give it into your hand." And Joshua stretched out the spear that was in his hand toward the city. So those in ambush arose quickly out of their place. They ran as soon as he had stretched out his hand, and they entered the city and took it, and hurried to set the city on fire. And when the men of Ai looked behind them, they saw, and behold, the smoke of the city ascended to heaven. So they had no power to flee this way or that way. And the people who had fled into the wilderness turned back on their pursuers. Now when Joshua and all Israel saw that the ambush had taken the city, and that the smoke of the city ascended, they turned back and struck down the men of Ai. Then the others came out of the city against them, so they were caught in the midst of Israel, some on this side, some on that side, and they struck them down, so that they let none of them remain or escape. But the king of Ai they took alive, and brought him to Joshua. And it came to pass, when Israel had made an end of slaying all the inhabitants of Ai in the field, in the wilderness where they pursued them, and where they had fallen by the edge of the sword until they were consumed, all the Israelites returned to Ai and struck it with the edge of the sword. So it was that all who fell that day, both men and women, were 12,000, all the people of Ai. 12,000 for a great city? For Joshua did not draw back his hand with which he stretched out the spear until he had utterly destroyed all the inhabitants of Ai. Okay. So he was holding the spear and not fighting the whole time then. Sounds like a leader. Only the livestock and the spoil of that city Israel took as booty for themselves, according to the word of the Lord, which he had commanded Joshua. So Joshua burnt Ai and made it a heap forever, a desolation to this day. And the king of Ai he hanged on a tree until evening. And as soon as the sun was down, Joshua commanded that they should take his corpse down from the tree and cast it at the entrance of the gate of the city, and raise it over a great heap of stones that remains to this day. Joshua renews the covenant. Now Joshua built an altar to the Lord God of Israel in Mount Ebal, as Moses the servant of the Lord had commanded the children of Israel, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of whole stones over which no man has wielded an iron tool. And they offered it burnt offerings to the Lord, and sacrificed peace offerings. And there, in the presence of the children of Israel, he wrote on the stones a copy of the law of Moses, which he had written. Then all Israel, with their elders and officers and judges, stood on either side of the ark before the priests, and the Levites who bore the ark of the covenant of the Lord, the stranger as well as he who was born among them. Half of them were in front of Mount Gerizim, and half of them in front of the Mount Ebal, as Moses the servant of the Lord had commanded before, that they should bless the people of Israel. And afterward he read all the words of the law, the blessings, the cursings, according to all that is written in the book of the law. That must have taken ages. And there was not a word of all that Moses had commanded which Joshua did not read out before the assembly of Israel, with the women, the little ones, and the strangers who were living among them. Oh my word. Alright. Think about how long think about how long the first 5 books of the Old Testament are, and they read that out in one sitting. Oh my word. Alright. That was eventful, to say the least. And I will move on to the next reading, which is Psalm number 14. And sorry, I just hit the microphone by accident, moving my hand.